Your scars, whether they be emotional, mental, or physical, they are not signs of weakness. They are badges of honor because they testify to the fact that you have survived the trauma. You're out on the other side. You're learning to thrive again. You have more resilience than you've ever had before and a greater depth of character, more empathy, more patience. Do you want to achieve your goals, but anxiety is tripping you up? Like to keep those fun weekend plans, but depression has you counseling again? Hey, I'm Lori, dog mom, lover of nature, and hygge enthusiast. Positive psychology skills help me overcome chronic severe PTSD. If you're ready to learn how to overcome your anxiety and depression and rediscover happiness and purpose in life, then get your cozy on and let's get started. Welcome back to Practical Solutions for PTSD. I'm super excited about the website that was released earlier this week, so I want to make sure you know about it in case you didn't catch Tuesday's episode. You can just go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com. Now, this is a beta version, so some changes are coming down the pike, but you can go there and find all the links that I'm constantly talking to you about. So there's links to the podcast, there's the top 5 binge-worthy episodes on there, there's a link to become an insider, so you get weekly encouragement and some inside tips and some exclusive access to deals that we have here. There's links to the Facebook page. There's also the links you can sign up for the anxiety and depression breakthrough one-on-one coaching sessions. It's all there on the Facebook page, on the website. So just go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com and check it out. Get back to me. Let me know what you think. It's practicalsolutionsforptsd.com. Have you ever found yourself wondering or thinking, these people that I know and that I love and I live my life with every day, they never knew the before trauma me. They didn't know what I was like before I suffered a major health event, or they didn't know what I was like before I went through the trauma that seems to have broken something inside of me, or they never knew what I was like before the grief that changed how I look at life. And have you ever found yourself in the place where you're grieving the previous you as well? I know I have. And this is something, to be honest, this is a topic that still hits me pretty deeply sometimes. When I went to Kuwait, it'd be about 14 years ago now, and I came back, I was a totally different person than before I left. And at the time, when I first came back, the people that were in my life knew me before. And now, it's been 13 years down the road since that happened. There's people that I'm very close to, a lot of my church family, like 95% of my church family, my colleagues that I worked with before I started this podcast, the people that I work with now, they never knew me before the trauma. And so there's a part of me, it's like they don't really know who I am. Like, for the longest time, I would struggle with that. Like, they don't know the real Lori because the real Lori has changed. Like, before the trauma, before the trip to Kuwait that changed me forever, anytime the doors were open at church, I was there. I was there for work days. I was there for every single service. I'd be there for every single event that went down. If I told someone I would show up, I would be there. I was super reliable, dependable. I took pride in that. Like the right kind of pride, but I took pride in the fact that I could be dependable, that I was reliable, that if I gave my word, I'd stand by it. And then I came back from Kuwait, and all that I have gone through since then in my journey of wellness. And one of the things I am not is dependable like I used to be. Now, I try to be faithful where God has called me and show up as much as I can. But I have found that your body can betray you and you just can't. Sometimes you just can't. Just this last Sunday, went to church Sunday morning. I was feeling great. I was really happy about it. Came home that afternoon, and about 2:00, I felt like I'd run into a brick wall. I was just done. I could not go anymore and ended up not being able to go back to church Sunday night. This is not uncommon. And to have to deal with that from where I was before to where I am today and know that I'm very different. There's other aspects of who I am today that are different than what I was before. I ran across a picture not too long ago when I was in Kuwait I love to climb on stuff. I was standing on top of a tank with my arms spread wide and going, woohoo, look at me. Because I would just had all this energy. I love to climb. There was just something so exciting about climbing. But after I came home and my health began to deteriorate, I no longer had the energy to do that. And so finding that there's different aspects of me that it's like, they didn't know the before trauma me. They didn't know the before Lori. And feeling like I've lost a sense of my who I am and a sense of my identity, that was really difficult to work through for myself for a long time. And for years, I would think, well, when I'm well is when I'm the pre-trauma Lori. Like when I can go back to who I was before the trauma happened, that's when I know that I'm well. And it's literally been just the last few years that I began to accept the fact that, Lori, you will never be the same. You're never going to be the person that you were before trauma, because trauma changes you. Trauma fundamentally changes how your body responds, how your brain responds. It can change your whole makeup to certain degrees. I mean, there's parts of yourself that will forever be the same. They may go into hibernation at times, but they're just still who you are. But there's aspects of your personality that are forever changed by trauma. So when I realized that, at first I'm like, no, I'll never be myself again. And then I realized, like, wait a minute, that's not necessarily a bad thing. This just means that over the last 12, 13 years, as I have dealt with the fallout of PTSD and all the other things that came with that, and the other, like the burnout, the physical illness stuff that I've dealt with, I have learned so many lessons in that process. I have walked through some really deep waters, some very dark times, some very hard times that have refined me, have softened me. I'm more empathetic now than I have ever been before. I'm more thoughtful about what I do and how I approach things. When I see someone who is hurting, it doesn't matter why they're hurting. I can sense that pain and I have immediate empathy for them and will reach out to them and try to bridge the gap. My brokenness, when I went through the trauma and the brokenness that I experienced, is what led me to change my career. I initially started working for the Army as an IT person, ended up changing and going into resilience and wellness. And that is what prepared me. Like my whole experience and then my time working in that industry, in the wellness and resilience industry in the Army, is what prepared me to do what I'm doing today. I would not be behind this mic right now talking to you, having a podcast on PTSD, anxiety, depression, etc. I would not have this ministry, this job, this whatever, had it not been for the fact that I've been through brokenness, that God brought me through that and to the other side. And yes, it has fundamentally changed me in some ways, but that's not a bad thing. No, I will never be the pre-trauma Lori, but that is not a bad thing. The person I am today, and I'm saying this to you as well, that you can look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you are worthy to be loved as you are in the post-trauma you. The post-trauma you is still a wonderful person. In fact, if you have let it do that, it has refined you and made you a better person. So I'm going to look at some things today. We're going to talk about some lessons and some practices today. And then Tuesday, we're going to pick this up in the next episode and we're going to look at some biblical perspectives on some post-trauma and how trauma changes a person for the better, that God sends us through a refining process to make us better on the other end, not to leave us broken and mourning the person who we used to be, but to accept what God has done in the refining process of who we are and creating us to be the person we were meant to be and preparing us for the purpose and the job that he has for us to do. So we're going to look at that Tuesday. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. It's very encouraging and uplifting, and how God can take the sorrow that we go through, the hardships, the brokenness, and can use that to make us into a better, more beautiful person and preparing us for the work that he has for us. And that's often how we do that. So first of all, I want you to understand, if you're in that position where you look at yourself today and you're like, I'm not who I was before. The people who are around me don't know the person who I was before. This is normal and it's okay. It's okay to go through a time where you miss who you used to be or you even grieve who you used to be. That is completely normal because trauma changes you. And it's okay to feel that way. You might feel like you're disconnected from your old identity. You might even feel some shame. And I mentioned before that I used to be like super, super dependable, and I'm just not anymore. My body has limits. My emotional health has limits. I've learned to respect the hard way, and I try very hard to maintain those boundaries, which is a good thing, by the way. So I'm a little different than I was before. But sometimes there's some guilt with that because I'm not like I was before. So understanding that you don't have to be guilty that you're not the same. And sometimes it can be frustrating that life feels different, that it feels harder, that it feels lonelier, that you can't connect the way they used to be. I know some of you, I've talked to you where you like typically if you're the healthy you or the pre-trauma you're super outgoing and you love people, you love going places, and now it's a struggle to get out the door. That's okay. It's okay. You are still worthy of love. You are still a wonderful person. And the process that you are going through is molding and making you into the person, a better version of who you were, and preparing you for a mission and a task that God has for you. So, acknowledging the grief and the fact that you are different is important because it enables you to accept the new you and the truth that you will never be the same, but that you can be better. Because the scars that you hold in your psyche, in your body, wherever, they prove that you survived, that you have depth now, that you have resilience you didn't have before, that you have grown past who you were and become a better version of who you were more than you could ever have imagined. So accepting is not giving up. And this is where I struggled for a long time because I didn't want to accept the fact that I was different because I felt like I was giving up on my old self, that I would never get back to my old self because I was accepting where I am. That is not what's going. Acceptance is not giving up. It's recognizing I'm different now and that's okay. Now, there are some things that as you heal will come back. Now, I was talking to someone about character strengths, and one of her top strengths is humor. And she's noticed as she's beginning to heal that she's learning to laugh again. Those kind of things will come back, and that's a good thing, but you'll have a different depth to that humor than what you had before the trauma because you'll understand what it's like to not be able to, and you'll be able to feel the pain of others. So there's going to be a different depth to that, but you'll get your humor back eventually as you're healing and as you feel safe. But there's going to be other aspects that will change forever, and that's okay. So there's going to be empathy. As I mentioned earlier, I'm much more empathetic than I used to be. There's going to be awareness of both yourself. You've gained awareness of yourself and understanding and paying attention to your body, your mind, your spirit, and those signals. But there's also going to be a greater awareness of those around you, which is a good thing because this means you can reach out to them a little better. You're going to have greater patience because you understand not everybody can show up for every single church service or all the work days or be the most reliable person on the block. You understand what it's like to be there. You're also more resilient than you were before. You're stronger. Those scars prove that you got up after the fight and you are standing on your feet again. So one thing that you can do to try to help you accept the new version of who you are is write down 3 strengths that you have today that you did not have before. And I can tell you one of mine right now is patience. I was not the most patient person in the world. And I paid 0 attention to my body signals. I did not hardly recognize them at all. I would just go charging down the road and not pay the lick of attention. I learned to pay very close attention to the signals that my body gives, to draw boundaries. This is another thing. I am now a boundary boss. I can do this. And to honor them, to draw boundaries and to honor them. I am much better at that. I mean, I didn't even hardly know what those boundaries were before. So the fact that I can do that and maintain them and maintain stronger relationships because of them, these are strengths that I gained because of the trauma I've come through. So find some of yours. List 3 strengths that you have today that you did not have before the trauma. And another thing is to celebrate small wins, even ones that your old self might have taken for granted. Now, I remember, and like I mentioned already in this podcast, health issues were a big part of mine. For a while, I literally could not walk to the end of my block without feeling exhausted. If I was on my feet doing very simple tasks for 20 minutes, it would take me 2 to 3 days to recover. So I remember celebrating the day that I could walk 500 feet and not be out of breath and feel like I was going to pass out. Celebrate those small wins as you regain them. And this was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now, that I started being able to exercise again on a regular basis without having a consistent fear that I was going to be sick the next day or even later that day. Being able to get to that point, I was so excited. So as you regain some of that ground, celebrate those small wins. As you accept the fact that you're going to be different after trauma, this allows you to stop fighting yourself and to begin working with the person that you are today. Because trust me, the person that you are post trauma is even better than the person you were before, because you have come through some major refining processes and come out a better person on the other side. Your scars, emotional, mental, and physical, these are not weaknesses. These are badges of honor that testify to the fact that you survived. You came through on the other side. And thinking about this in a physical sense, I know before I went through the trauma and understand the whole scar thing, like truly experientially understand that, when I would see someone with physical scars, I mean, there would be some sympathy in my heart. But now I look at that person, I'm like, wow, what have they come through to get to this point? And the fact that they are standing here today or sitting or whatever, that they are here, wow, this is resilience in action. You see that much more keenly when you've gone through it yourself. Scars are badges of honor. They remind you that you are learning to thrive again, even if it's slow, might be a little uneven, definitely going to be imperfect because we all are. But you are thriving. You are making it. You are being resilient. You are standing back up after being knocked down. And that is a wonderful thing. So here's a very practical exercise you can do. Go stand in front of a mirror and say, these scars show I survived, and they are my strength. Thriving doesn't mean erasing the past or returning to your old self. It means finding joy despite the symptoms. You learn to appreciate the small things, the small victories, building connections and despite being isolated, learning how to rebuild them and make them more meaningful, making them more intentional, acting with courage despite your fear or your guilt over whatever you're dealing with. When you step out in courage and take those actions anyway. So you can take these small steps. Pick one daily action that affirms your new identity. You can journal, you could be creative in your expression, do some movement, whatever that would be. You could reach out to a friend or loved one, even briefly. Now, I was talking about this episode with my housemate and about the fact that sometimes it's hard because I'm not who I used to be. And there's a part of me that still grieves that. And she looked at me, but she's like, Lori, you're such a better person than what you were. Not that I was a bad person before, but I have been refined. I have been, like, some of the rough edges have been knocked off. I've got greater depth than I had before, greater empathy. And God was preparing me for this right here. So reach out to a loved one and, try to connect, especially someone who knew you before and knows you now. That would be even better. But being able to connect that even briefly and to celebrate who you are today, that's a wonderful thing to do. And celebrate those resilient moments, even if they're tiny, just little tiny resilient moments. Celebrate them. You'll grow stronger. There'll be more of them. Here's a powerful way you can reframe this. I am not broken. I am changed. And change can be a gift. So remember, missing your old self is normal, but it does not have to stop your growth going forward. Your new self carries insight, empathy, and strength that your old self never had. And loving the new you doesn't mean you forgot the past. It means you're integrating it into your growth. So you could rediscover joy. It's going to look different, but it's going to be much more meaningful than it was before. Finding a new purpose. You may not be able to ever return to what your purpose was before because God has created a new purpose for you. Understanding you would never be able to fulfill that purpose had you not gone through the trauma. And I mentioned this before, but being behind this mic and talking to you guys 2 times a week, interfacing with you on Facebook, ministering to you guys, this is my purpose. I could never have been here had God not brought me through the brokenness of the last 12, 13 years. I was broken. God has put me back together. I am now changed. I honor who I was. You can tell this to yourself. I honor who I was. I'm embracing who I am, and I'm learning to thrive right where I stand. Very simple exercise is take a quiet moment, write down something you miss about your old self, because again, we're going to honor that. We're going to honor who we were before. But we're going to write down one skill or strength you now have that because you survived. And this is something I wanted to especially challenge you who are challenge y'all who are part of the Facebook community. And if you're not, you can join. But I encourage you to go on to the Thankful Thursday post. This is going to be released on Thursday morning. You can go out there today or sometime this weekend and put down one thing about your new self that you're thankful for. This is a great way to do that. And then commit to one small act today that honors your new self, an act of self-compassion, of connection, and courage. And this can shift the grief of dealing with, I'm not who I used to be, to empowerment. This is who I am today because of what I went through, because of the brokenness that have been put back together, and I am now changed, and I'm a stronger, deeper, more compassionate person. Your scars are proof that you survived. Your growth shows that you learned to thrive. You are worthy of love, especially from yourself, today and every day, even through the brokenness. So I hope this helped you. It encourages me. As I told you, so there's a little part of myself sometimes that still grieves who I was before. And it's a good reminder for me to remember that I am who I am today because of the trauma that I went through. It's made me a stronger person, a more empathetic person, a deeper person, and a person who can sit behind this mic and be able to help those that are coming behind me. I love you guys. I'd love to hear from you on Facebook. You can reach out there. You can just overcome depression and anxiety. Use positive psychology to combat PTSD. If you're not part of the community already, you can connect, get you approved, and get you in the community. We'll have lots of fun. Again, that's overcome depression and anxiety. Use positive psychology to combat PTSD. Love you guys. Hope to see you there, and we'll talk more later. Don't forget to check out the new website. Just go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com. Again, that's practicalsolutionsforptsd.com. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Hey, my friend. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with someone you know who may be struggling with depression and anxiety? Also, would you please leave a quick review for the show? Knowing how this podcast is helping you fills my heart with so much joy, and it motivates me for future episodes. For now, it's time for Sam and I to head outside to enjoy some sunshine and fresh air. We'll see you back here on Tuesdays and Thursdays for more great episodes.